Hey there, and welcome back to XCOM 2. My name is Pete, and it's been a while, but today we complete another episode of our Legend Ironman walkthrough of XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. Last time we left off, after taking quite a bit of a gamble to unlock the Nick of Time achievement, we deliberately let sharpshooter Lunar Redonis get himself shot numerous times. Luckily though, he survived, and we unlocked what I think was the last combat-related achievement in the game. So from this point onwards, we'll have to create new challenges ourselves, and well, the video title already gives away what awaits you today. Before we get to that, however, let's hop back into the world map. We started scanning a rumor for assorted loot a while back, and with the other one offering us Avenger power, which we really do not need at this point, it is also the only one that makes sense. And so we then complete one more round of psionic training for Esteban Flores, and as you can see, with only 2 choices being offered here, he is very close to actually unlocking every single psionic ability in the game, and I'm pretty sure that we will keep playing for long enough for him to reach that point. The same is actually true for Matt Lewin here too, and we will keep the Solace ability for last for both of them, simply because it is largely obsolete with the Mental Fortitude Continent bonus. A mysterious stranger then hands over a superior laser sight and Chosen information. A bit late to the party there perhaps, but either way, this now leaves us without any rumors to scan. We have also already visited and emptied out the black market. Destroying any alien facilities is also no longer needed at this point. So let's fly over to the Reaper HQ to earn some more intel. I think that is probably the best use of our time right now.
The aliens continue to make progress on the Avatar project. If we're going to slow them down, we'll need to move fast.
The Avatar project then ticks along, but that's hardly concerning.
The outcome of this research can only further our advances, Commander.
In the meantime, with the assassin weapons, we unlock the final set of chosen weapons, the assassin's katana and the Orashi shotgun. And especially the katana is, in my opinion, one of the best items in the game. I know that some of you don't like it too much, but the fact that it never misses can be ludicrously powerful. The shotgun, meanwhile, not to be scoffed at either, with a grand total of 4 weapon attachments. And I think this now also marked the last regular research project of this series. There really is no need in pursuing the additional workbench construction breakthrough here. The data cache we might decrypt at some point, but we also don't really have too much of a need for intel, so let us move over to the Shadow Chamber.
Commander, now that we've managed to bring the alien's artifact back to the Shadow Chamber, we should start the analysis as soon as possible. It's risky, but I don't see any way we can avoid powering it up if we're going to understand how it works.
And indeed, if we ever want to finish this series, then these 3 projects here will need to be completed. The Avatar autopsy can only be performed once the first 2 are done, and so let us now research the Advent stasis suit, and thus begins the final chapter in this playthrough. As we then continue to scan, we are also promptly presented with today's mission, or at least with the 3 missions that we can choose from. However, this time around I think it will be an easy choice. We have no need for an engineer, and the collateral damage dark event is also not worth countering, I think, and with that the mission in South Africa is out. New Mexico then waits for us with 21 enemies, the Lost, and the very unfortunate surgical sitrap. Nonetheless, I feel like the Gone to Ground dark event is one that we have no choice but to counter, even though the mission in New Chile here looks to be much easier, but Advent sealed armor is really not much of a threatening dark event. So New Mexico it will have to be, as we can really not afford the black market to be closed for 6 weeks. At the moment it is our only reliable source of Illyrium and alloys, and we still need plenty of both.
Setting course for Mexico.
If we're going to keep this one quiet, Commander, we'll have to limit the squad size to 3 of our best units. Let's hope they can get the job done without additional support.
And well, Mr. Bradford, I think we'll do you one better. Instead of 3, we are only going to take 1. Looks like today is Ranger Starfall's big day. After Reaper Dragonova already successfully soloed an alien facility, Starfall will take things one huge step further today. Honestly, that alien facility was a piece of cake compared to what he has coming up. But I guess that's what you do when you run out of achievements. you simply start creating your own. However, our plan today does rely heavily on the assassin weapons we just unlocked. The Arashi here actually with the same damage output as a regular storm gun. Its crit damage is actually 1 point higher, but the real treat of course are the 4 superior weapon attachments. Arguably a lot more important than that, however, will be the assassin's katana. Not only dealing more damage than any other melee weapon in the game, but also bypassing 5 points of armor, not to mention that it cannot miss and that its attacks also cannot be dodged. And in combination with some of Starfall's abilities, that could be quite useful. Nonetheless, this mission will be anything but a walk in the park.
Sky Ranger deployed.
In position for deployment.
Signal triangulation has locked in the location of a hidden alien communications relay uploading data to the Advent network in this area. Disrupting the aliens' progress is our highest priority, so we're moving to destroy the relay before they complete the transfer. Terminate any hostile forces operating in the area. Secure the site and destroy that relay. Menace 1-5, the communications relay is up ahead. Move in and destroy the target.
As I expected, Commander, there are significant readings indicative of the Lost moving throughout the combat zone. Be careful out there.
So, 9 turns on the clock and we have to destroy an alien relay that thankfully does not appear to be too far away. We also start things off in concealment and begin with 21 enemies already present on the map. However, we also have Lost among them, and that means there could soon be more. The appearance of 1 or more Lost swarms is definitely not unlikely.
Position confirmed.
With our first move then, we already detect 3 Archons as our first group of enemies. Definitely nothing that we want to fight immediately. So let's move up just a bit further to end our turn. The Archons then retreat, flying out of sight. We also have no further enemies coming into sight, and that means it's already time for the Lost's turn. The camera shifts ominously here, but again no Lost is revealed, and so Starfall changes positions with unfortunate results.
Okay, I'll go.
Looks like they were Lost right below him, which now breaks his concealment.
Cover's blown.
As a result, the 3 Archons now also spot him, albeit with the added bonus of Starfall's Icarus armor causing one of them to panic. Nonetheless, this is not exactly an ideal start to the mission. On the bright side, that panicked Archon now attacks one of its own, a priest, for a whopping 10 points of damage off of a critical hit, and that now brings things back to our ranger, who with half of his turn already spent now finds himself in a bit of a tricky situation. However, there are enough active Lost already on the map to hopefully draw the Archon's attention, so I think we can afford to just lay low and go on Overwatch.
Moving to Overwatch.
Now, we benefit here from the fact that while the Lost pick their targets at random and will also go after our soldiers even if alien units are much closer, those alien units meanwhile behave a bit more predictably. If they have Lost close to them and our units further away, they will most likely go after the Lost, and so as long as we can keep some Lost between us and the aliens, we should be safe. And with 21 units on the map to begin with, I would assume that the number of alien units among that number is about 9 to 12, so 3 or 4 pods, which already gives us 10 Lost as distractions to get us started. And here a great example of their choice of targets, despite an Archon on the very next tile, this Lost here going after Starfall, but for now not capable of closing the distance. So instead, let's drop down and take care of that Archon ourselves. In the process, we reveal and activate a few more Lost, but for the moment we do not have to concern ourselves with them. Instead, we will now first of all take a shot against one of the Lost closest to us. The kill is free, and this now both activates Implacable and Untouchable, so we will be able to take at least 1 enemy attack on the next turn. Our next target then is the Archon itself. Let's see if Starfall can hit the 90%. Alright, very nice. The hair trigger kicks in, giving us another action here. My original plan was to simply rely on Bladestorm to kill the Archon. However, it looks like we can already guarantee the kill, spending 1 action point to move back and then the other one to take the shot. Stock damage will ensure that we get the kill no matter what.
I definitely got that one.
So that's one Archon down, 2 more to go, and the panic has also worn off sadly. Still, there is a convenient Lost nearby, and Starfall can also tank a hit. However, it seems like he doesn't even need to, as the second Archon here finishes its turn without attacking anything, most likely after dashing. And so that already brings us to the Lost, who move a bit closer but also do not have action points left to attack. So far, things are going well for Starfall, although we can of course not afford to play the patient game here for too long. 3 of the 9 turns we have to destroy the relay have already expired after all. And with those 2 Archons, currently the biggest threat between us and our objective, let us now move back onto the balcony here, conveniently in a location that blocks the ladder, so no Lost will be able to follow us up here as we now take aim. And so, with a lucky critical hit, our turn comes to an end. This time Starfall is not untouchable, but the Archons here also have 2 Lost to keep themselves occupied with. And with the first Archon here getting ready to launch blazing pinions and giving us a brief look at some more enemies further in the back, I have a feeling that more Lost could be incoming soon. The second Archon's melee attack here, they're not even getting rid of one of them. And we are also notified of a swarm incoming on the next turn. That is, in addition to the one that will be triggered once those blazing pinions strike down. And for the first time in this mission then, the Lost get to attack. 4 points of damage here, not enough to kill the Archon, but since it did not move, it will die shortly anyway, as Archons are everything but immune to their own blazing pinions. And for that reason, Starfall can now take 2 shots, one against the Lost over here to trigger Untouchable, and then, after reloading, at the Archon currently up in the air. Even if the hit chance here is less than ideal, we will be dealing some damage either way, and perhaps we do get lucky.
Adjusting aim.
That's not the case though, 4 points of damage, and thus ends our turn. And there we go, blazing pinions not only killing all the Lost, but also the Archon's companion and also injuring it in the process, now resulting in the appearance of a swarm 11 Lost strong, a lovely meat shield that should last us for quite some time. This here, by the way, the reason I wanted to make sure that we had Untouchable active. Actually striking down with blazing pinions does not consume the Archon's action for this turn, so depending on where that swarm would have spawned, there was a small risk of it attacking us. Those Lost, meanwhile, doing their very best to fit that swarm description. Once again, with the ladder blocked, we are at absolutely no risk of them actually reaching us, and with most of the Lost's movement range being severely limited, only 2 of them actually get to attack the Archon. And with that Archon surrounded by 7 enemies, with potentially more of them incoming, I think we can safely leave it be for the moment. Instead, let's move a bit closer towards our objective, as we only have 4 turns left.
I've got eyes on Advent troops.
This then reveals the Advent part that we already saw hints of a little earlier. Shield Bearer, Lancer and Priest, that actually works very nicely for us. The Lancer is mostly a melee unit and therefore rather predictable. The Shield Bearer can be relied on to deploy their energy shield first and foremost, while the Priest's stasis ability could at worst cost us another valuable turn, but would also render us immune to damage during that turn. So, no need to be concerned just yet, let's take out another Lost for that sweet Implacable and Untouchable bonus. And afterwards we can occupy some high ground, once again conveniently blocking the ladder.
Advent forces on the ground.
That also reveals what I'm pretty sure will be the last alien units on this map, a powerful gatekeeper protected by a trooper and another Lancer. And we also briefly saw glimpses of an enemy further in the shadows, 21 hit points and 4 points of armor, undoubtedly an Andromedon. With our shot on this turn then, we take aim at the Lancer that was revealed first. The second one and the Gatekeeper have luckily moved out of sight.
I got a piece.
The alien turn then begins in rather predictable fashion. The Archon here left with no choice but to clobber at another Lost. The Priest then wasting its stasis ability on one of them too. And since the Lancer can't get up to us, they also pick a Lost as a target. The Advent Shield Bearer then does exactly what I had expected them to, and what's even better, only the Trooper is actually in range of the energy shield. The Gatekeeper then picks a 14 hit point Lost Brute as its target, and misses, only to be outclassed by a measly Advent Trooper, seemingly the only one here who has understood that the best way to kill Lost is to simply shoot them, and of course to pick targets that you can actually kill. So Starfall once again remains unharmed, and we have more Lost incoming, this time a swarm of 12. For the time being at least, though, we can treat all of these as if they didn't exist, which is most certainly not the case for our alien friends surrounded by them. The Lancer here takes 1 point of damage and the Archon a further 7.
The alien transmission is still active and we're running out of time. Get to the relay and take it out, ASAP.
And yes indeed, we only have 3 turns left at this point to destroy the relay. The situation as a whole, meanwhile, has not really changed. I think it is still a very safe bet that aliens and Lost will continue to tear each other to pieces. So after once more activating Implacable and Untouchable, we get a move on. This here, by the way, the Implacable move, therefore leaving us with 2 more action points, and so we can still get ourselves into shooting range of the relay.
Objective position confirmed. Commander, we have a positive ID on the alien relay.
And there we go, the relay has been located and it has 14 hit points, all the more reason to start shooting. And so begins another enemy turn, and for a change our enemies seem to get at least a little bit smarter. First we have the Advent Priest taking out 3 Lost before picking a bad target for shot number 4. Then the Lancer wastes its energy on a Lost with only a single hit point, and it goes downhill from there. The Shield Bearer misses their shot, and the second Lancer also can't find a target. Meanwhile, what the Gatekeeper is doing remains a mystery for now. On the Lost's turn then, the fight against the Archon continues, but 1 meager point of damage is not enough to take it down. The Lancer over here then also gets away unscathed, and so does the Priest, and in some ways the same is true for the Trooper, who only loses the energy shield. 1 more point of damage then against the Shield Bearer, and with that it's back to us. Starfall here the witness to an absolutely pathetic performance by both aliens and Lost, but at least it gives him enough breathing room to first kill another Lost, to once again activate Implacable and Untouchable.
Check it before you get too close.
Afterwards then we can once again reload.
I'm ready.
And then end our turn by destroying the relay with only 2 turns left on the clock. This will obviously not end the mission, but it will remove the timer.
Menace 1-5, we confirm destruction of the relay. The alien transmission is down. Eliminate any remaining hostiles and move to evac.
And well, those hostiles do not exactly put on a stellar performance. The Priest here at least gets the kill, but has also run out of ammo now. Meanwhile, the Lancer misses, and then the Gatekeeper reappears. Its shot against the Dasher here strikes true, but it cannot benefit from the headshot mechanic, and with that we now get to Lancer number 2. The first enemy to attack Starfall immediately gets hit with a Blade Storm, and afterwards our Ranger remains untouchable.
Pin down here! Watch the sides!
Somewhat unexpectedly then, the Trooper seems somewhat disinterested in taking out more Lost and also takes aim. Thankfully though, the shot goes wide. Don't worry though, we would have been able to comfortably take that 1 hit, even if on the Lost's turn we are now starting to get swarmed, only for Starfall to respond with a flurry of Blade Storms. That's the beauty of a katana that cannot miss. Anything at 12 hit points or below is essentially an auto-kill once it gets into Starfall's range, and on this mission we actually have quite a few types of enemies who like to do that. The Lost, the Lancers, and also occasionally the Archons, although as you just saw, that last one finally got itself killed. The remainder of the Lost's turn then not exactly eventful. The Gatekeeper takes a point of damage, and with that it's back to Starfall. Now, as you just saw, any melee enemies in the vicinity with 12 hit points or less we can basically ignore, which is why we are now doing something that I may honestly not have thought through entirely. We are now going to slash attack the Priest. Now, on pure damage alone, 12 points will be enough, but for some reason I completely forgot about the Priest's sustain ability, which thankfully did not trigger here. All in all, very poor decision making here on my part not to kill a Lost first. That would have ensured Implacable and Untouchable to trigger, but in the end we get lucky and can use the extra move action to get back to where we came from.
Check it before you get too close.
The first Lancer then dies to a guaranteed Bladestorm hit, and that brings us to the Gatekeeper, who now uses the Gateway ability for the first time in this series. An incredibly powerful area of effect ability that first of all deals 5 to 7 points of damage to any target in the area, in this case except for Starfall, who remains untouchable, only to then reanimate any corpse in the area as a Psi zombie, including those just killed by the attack. In our case, this raises a lovely amount of 9 Psi zombies, which seems impressive, but then again Starfall could not care less. They are melee enemies too and only have 8 hit points. Nonetheless, their presence does make Starfall's situation a bit more dicey now, because all of these enemies will act on the alien turn, and that means in just a moment we might not have that many Lost left to distract our enemies, and while we could activate Untouchable, it will only protect us against the first enemy attack each turn, and I'm not really willing to take that risk with a Gatekeeper roaming around. So we deploy the Mimic Beacon, only for it to be targeted immediately. The Shield Bearer deals 6 points of damage, the Gatekeeper meanwhile cannot attack it after moving, and the Trooper does their very best to weaken the alien's position by throwing a grenade. This kills one Lost, but also brings a swarm closer. Perfect timing, considering that the last pod of aliens has just activated, and Andromedon and the 4th Archon of this mission, who immediately panics. Its target then, unfortunately, only one of the Gatekeeper's Psi zombies, and the shot does not even hit. This also means that we have survived the threat for one more turn. Up next, it's only the Psi zombies who will get to act, and like I said, none of them can touch us. What they can do, however, is surround and ultimately take out our decoy.
They're gone!
But that is exactly what it's here for. Their sheer overwhelming numbers, however, could become a small problem, at least if they continue to kill Lost at a rapid pace. Against our Ranger Starfall, meanwhile, as you can see, none of them can do anything.
I got it, right?
And so the alien turn now comes to an end, and prompted by that earlier grenade, we have another Lost swarm incoming. Once again, just the right moment for reinforcements, as we still have a good number of alien units left on the map, and the last thing we need is all of them focusing their attention on us. As another Lost Dasher then closes the distance, Starfall only adds to the pile of corpses he is already standing on. The guy remains a one-man army, but then again the most difficult enemies are yet to come. So then, here we are back with Starfall, who at the moment seems a bit too close for comfort to that Gatekeeper, so let's find ourselves a Lost over in the room to the right here. Admittedly though, the kill here not even necessary to trigger our beloved bonus abilities. We would have had enough movement left anyway to melee strike the Trooper here, eliminating one more alien unit and getting us far away from the rest of them.
I definitely got that one.
And that concludes another one of our turns. The Archon still panicked, the Shield Bearer meanwhile has their sights set on the Lost and kills 2 of them before the Gatekeeper strikes again. Opening its shell and reducing its armor by 2 points, it now strikes at the Lost Brute here with 14 hit points, and you may have noticed it very briefly, it also just regains some health from doing so. The Andromedon then, another one of those enemies easily distracted by anything running around right in front of it, while the Psi zombies remain unfortunately effective at taking out Lost. Those who get too close to Starfall, meanwhile, get what they deserve, and the same is true for any of the Lost making the same mistake on their turn.
I got it, right?
Those Lost then also get at least a bit of payback against the Psi zombies, but it remains an uphill battle for them, and we will most likely not be able to count on them as a distraction for too much longer. What we can count on them for, however, is an easy source of Implacable and Untouchable. allowing us to somewhat safely move a bit closer towards the rest of the enemies. And at this point we are actually going to take what seems to be the worst shot possible, an 18%er against the Advent Shield Bearer over here. At the moment I do not dare to move in much closer, and even if we miss this, we will do at least a small amount of damage anyway.
I'll get him next time.
And look at that, looks like we got lucky with the hair trigger, so let us simply fire again.
Shot failed to connect.
On the enemy turn then, the Archon finally loses its panic. The shield bearer takes aim at a slightly too tough target, while the gatekeeper launches another gateway attack. Yes, unfortunately, this ability only has a meager 2-turn cooldown. One more very good reason why you should normally take out gatekeepers very quickly. In this case, however, the result is nothing too dangerous with only 2 additional Psi Zombies raised. The rest of the alien force then remains occupied with the Lost. Especially in the Andromedon's case, that is very, very fortunate for us, even if it means that our meat shields are once again getting thinned out rather rapidly. Those meat shields then can at least celebrate a small success, taking out a Psi Zombie over here. The Archon also suffers 3 points of damage, while the Andromedon remains unharmed. And so it's once again back to Starfall, who will now follow the usual procedure. We will activate Implacable and Untouchable by killing the Lost with the fewest hit points. Then we can move up just a tiny bit closer and from that position launch a slash attack against the shield bearer. Thanks to the Katana's 5 points of armor piercing, the kill here is guaranteed.
That's it.
The aliens, meanwhile, should still have enough Lost around to keep themselves occupied. At this point, except for the Psi Zombies, we only have 3 alien units left, the Gatekeeper, the Andromedon and the Archon. And as you can see, their preferred way of taking out Lost is one that does not trigger headshots, so at worst they can each only attack a single Lost at a time. At this point, it is also worth noting that the Psi Zombies always act last, so while I may have alluded to that earlier, there really is no risk of them thinning out the Lost numbers beforehand, and then leaving the real alien units with no other targets but Starfall. Also, thanks to the fact that the Gatekeeper was only able to raise 2 additional Psi Zombies on their previous turn, the battlefield looks much more thinned out at this point, and I think it's safe to say that the end of the mission is slowly coming into sight. Nonetheless, Starfall is far from in the clear yet, especially since the Lost won't be able to do too much against those 3 alien units that remain, not to mention that hitting enemies with 2 hit points remaining for only 1 point of damage is less than ideal. At this point, we have also positioned ourselves somewhat unfortunately with no line of sight to anyone, so let's do something about that.
If you say so.
Then we can kill the Lost here to gain our usual bonuses.
I definitely got that one.
And then I made the careless mistake of reloading. It may have looked like it, but we did not actually have 2 action points left. Because of Implacable, one of them has to be used on movement, and since we used the other one to refill Starfall's magazine, the best course of action now I think is to simply retreat.
I'm trusting you here.
Thankfully, this breaks line of sight with most enemies, and so the Gatekeeper eagerly rushes towards one of the few Lost remaining, and also takes it out. The Andromedon then remains surprisingly careful and only goes on Overwatch, while the Archon rushes in with the usual expected results. At this point then, we only have the Psi Zombies remaining, who either die to Starfall's Bladestorm or can't make it close enough to face their demise on this turn, except for this last one here, who despite a melee attack range of 1 tile, somehow manages to get off an attack from 2 tiles away, only to then trigger Untouchable a second time. Both things should not have been possible, so if anyone can enlighten me what happened here, I would appreciate it. Our turn then is rather straightforward. Since we cannot move without risking reaction fire, let's simply melee kill the Archon. Untouchable is triggered by that, so the Andromedon cannot harm us, and the Gatekeeper is hopefully still far enough away. A brief moment of panic then, as the Gatekeeper comes back into view, only to then launch another gateway attack towards the other side of the map. That reanimates what looks to be 4 additional Psi Zombies, but most importantly it ensures that we do not lose any hit points on this turn, as Starfall can withstand the Andromedon's melee attack here. What now remains are more Psi Zombies who, just like on that last turn, get too close and promptly get themselves killed, once again except for this fellow over here, who continues to exchange behaviors with Starfall that should both not be possible.
I can't move!
Now at this point it is important that we do not kill the Andromedon from right where we stand. Instead, let's clear some distance and then take a 93%er. We probably should have kept it 1 tile closer.
Check it before you get too close!
Either way, the shot connects, and despite the Andromedon's shell now re-emerging, this does count as a kill shot, thus triggering Implacable, allowing us to now move into melee range with the Gatekeeper. This is the part of the mission where we might take some damage if the Andromedon can make it all the way back over to us for a melee attack, as the Gatekeeper here already forces Starfall to use his Untouchable ability.
I'm taking fire!
What follows is a short barrage of Psi Zombies, who this time around almost all get into range to be disposed of immediately, once again except for this last one here, who carefully sidesteps Starfall's blade, but as a result also does not get off an attack itself. This brings us to the Andromedon, and with Gatekeeper and Psi Zombie conveniently blocking its path, it has to stop just a single tile short of Starfall. No more lost remain, and so it's back to our hero, who will at this point make use of the first of his many abilities, not called Implacable and Untouchable, Rapid Fire to be precise, to guarantee that the Andromedon goes down.
I definitely got that one!
Of course, those aforementioned 2 abilities also once again trigger as a result, so let's move that 1 tile back towards the Gatekeeper, just to ensure that we strike it again with Blade Storm as soon as the alien's turn begins.
They're all over me!
And this now pretty much brings us to the end of things. The zombie here goes down in 1 swift motion, and just like that, it's Starfall versus the Gatekeeper, 1-on-1.
I got it, right?
Now, ideally, I would have loved to move a few tiles away here and to kill the Gatekeeper with the Arashi shotgun, but unfortunately neither a hit nor a kill would be guaranteed that way, so let's take the melee strike and live with the explosion, dealing our ranger his first damage of the mission.
All hostiles are down and the area is secure. Status confirmed. Mission accomplished.
And there we go. Not a flawless mission, but a damn good one nonetheless. Starfall just single-handedly killed 75 enemies all by himself. Sadly, there is no achievement for this. I simply wanted to show you just how far you can go with a maxed out soldier and some of the best equipment in the game. Interestingly, I had actually planned the Icarus armor as a safety option, the ability to just fly out of a mess without spending an action point, but as you saw, we never even had to use it.
Even now, our enemy lurks in the shadows, plotting to destroy all we have built, to return us to the chaos of the old world. Only together can we oppose them. United in the Elder's love for us, we shall prevail, no matter the cost.
There's no way the aliens were expecting a fight like that. I'm impressed, Commander.
Well, impressed is probably the right word for it. Starfall just casually doubled his kill count and only needs to spend a week on the sidelines as a result. I think that is a fair price to pay. That gatekeeper also dropped some loot with the final kill, not that we really need either one of those anymore.
Considering the limited resources available to you, Commander, you have still managed to exceed my expectations. Excellent work.
High praise then also from the Council, who rewards us with more supplies that we are already swimming in, but most importantly, Starfall has just single-handedly kept the black market open for another 6 weeks. By the way, before we make the cut, one enemy that I would not have tried this against is the Spectre. Yes, their Shadowbind ability would have caused an instant game over, and with Spectres also able to enter concealment, that would have been too much of a risk. Also, their lightning reflexes would have allowed them to avoid the katana, which played a most vital role in our success here today. And so we wrap things up with another adventure completed. Let me know what kind of challenges you would like to see next as we get ready for the final mission of the game. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this one, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can also go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.